He knows. Sargeras was right. We finally know what he saw. Now, there is lore out there, certainly, that Sargeras had a vision. Or some sort of, like, I don't know, daydream, drug-induced coma dream. But he envisioned some sort of, like, eye looking at him, is the way it's described. A lot of us have interpreted that as kind of the world soul of Azeroth speaking to him, coming to him, revealing herself to him. And that's why a lot of us think that maybe the little sword, just the tip sword, was a plan. Maybe he was trying to free her. Maybe this was part of a plan they've come up with together. Anyways, plenty of stuff happening with Sargeras going forward, especially the Last Titan. Let's see what this video is all about here from Bellular.
This is Val. It's a frozen wasteland that was once used by the Burning Legion as a prison world, and we cleared through it during patch 7.3 Shadows of Argus. And this is that same world, Val, but as seen in Midnight's patch 12.0.7. It's the same map, same location, it's a little bit bigger, but this time we find something different. It's infested with void beings. But you clicked a video about Sargeras. Don't worry, it absolutely is. This is not about Xal'atath and the Void, and that's because in a hidden cave, something minor, seemingly, but in actuality very important was found. It's this, a former commander of the Legion. His name is Warbringer Thal'Kul, and his title, The Mutinied, gives us a window into the post-Legion demon world. We learned that Thal'Kul was overthrown.
I mean, yeah, technically, that's what we're dealing with right now, right? We got a post like a leaderless Legion. And one thing about the Legion you got to understand is they're made up of a bunch of demons from the Twisting Nether. And one thing about the Twisting Nether is it's chaos. It's chaos incarnate almost. There's nothing really orderly about the demons and how they work. There's pit lords and stuff, but you got to understand a lot of the ranking system and the way the Legion that we understand it, or demons the way we understand them, was built out by Sargeras. He essentially took the disorderliness of the chaotic demons and created an army out of them. He created ranking systems. He created, like I said, there's pit lords and all kinds of generals and things. None of that existed before he showed up. These guys were all, like I said, just kind of rampant, running around, doing whatever the fuck they wanted. And then Sargeras saw a way, as a Titan typically would, to order them up. So he ordered them up, organized them, and then used them to try to fight against the Void. That was kind of his whole thing. So now we're dealing with a leaderless Legion again, leaderless demons again. So are they going to revert back to their chaotic state? We're going to start to find that out, what's going on with them.
By his own soldiers and left to die on this frozen world. Where did these soldiers go? Well, we don't know, and it's not exactly important, because what is important is they did a mutiny. They demonstrated free will. Think about that, and then realize how demon lore has been landing thick and fast throughout Midnight. We find the likes of crashed ships, demons leading mutinies, demons living peacefully alongside Draenei on the world of Nashabor, whilst we find others that are out there rallying 100,000 worlds to restart the Burning Crusade. Yes, that's quite literally happening in the lore right now.
Restart the Burning, that's pretty cool. I guess some demons miss the good old days when they were fighting against worlds, taking out entire worlds as a burning crusade. Interesting. Yeah, and a free will for a demon, that's also interesting, right? That's very, honestly, in WoW, free will, according to the Titans, they see it as very chaotic. It's unpredictable. You don't know what's going to happen. But when it comes to free will in general, that's something that we kind of associate with Azeroth. She's the one who grants free will. So do the old gods, interestingly enough, with the curse of flesh and everything, which is weird too. Like, did Azeroth tell the old gods to curse us with the curse of flesh, or was it reversed? I have no idea. We're going to figure stuff like that out. But in general, free will has been seen as something that Azeroth grants people. So maybe these demons, maybe there's some Azerothian influence, especially the ones that have been on Azeroth still. We'll see where they're getting their free will from. Or is that just the natural state of demons? They're supposed to have free will.
And we shouldn't be surprised demons are being used as a storytelling tool this deep into World Soul Saga. That's because we're barreling towards its final expansion, The Last Titan, where all signs point to a return of Sargeras. But of course, like the demons he once led, Sargeras will be different to how he was when we last saw him, and considering everything we've discovered about the Titan conspiracy at the core of this saga, and of much of Warcraft, even going back to, say, the events of Wrath of the Lich King, Well, Sargeras may have been more right than we thought at the time. And if big things
Surprise.
are cooking with Sargeras, then having these fractured free demons scattered around the cosmos is almost perfect. We've got a fresh stack then of demon lore today and a whole bunch about Sargeras that's all pointing straight towards the last Titan. So, with all that said, let's get stuck in.
All right.
We gotta do
Suddenly
two
the
things.
demons are
First,
back.
we gotta set up the fresh demon lore that's dropped in Midnight, and then we've gotta show how that points to a return of Sargeras in a way that we probably didn't expect. And to do that, let's begin.
I think I was just about to say. I should have said it before he showed this scene, so you guys would have thought I pre-watched it. But basically, Sargeras returning is almost guaranteed at this point. I think that is happening. We know that. And if Sargeras returns, who else returns? Well, the guy who's basically probably, been pegging him this entire time and been his prison warden, Illidan, right? I mean, they're together right now. I don't think one returns without the other. Now, they've been sitting there in the Pantheon. I don't know what the other Titans are off doing right now, but these two have been sitting together for quite a while. And they've been chatting it up, I'm sure. And one thing Illidan, you can say he's a stubborn jerk or, he is what he is. He's oftentimes willing to listen to some shit, especially conspiracy theories. He is the ultimate conspiracy theorist. So if Sargeras starts telling him about crazy Titan conspiracies and how it all works and basically the interweavings of how all this shit's been planned out, I think he would believe him eventually. And I think they're going to come back together. We'll see how that all works. Is this a redemption arc? Illidan basically already had his redemption arc. I don't know if Sargeras gets one. I don't think he's ever going to be a good guy. You got to remember, this dude, cleaved planets in half, destroyed entire worlds in a blink of an eye. So I don't know if he can ever say he's going to be a good guy, but he's probably going to be on our side as we fight the Titans.
The day the Burning Legion died, Sargeras
It was
was
Pepe
taken
all
by the
along, that's
Titans
right.
and zapped off into space, leaving this odd red
up,
star
Ness?
just hanging around in the sky. A star that promises that yes, one day Sargeras will return. We were even baited by Alex Afrasabi, who told us to keep an eye on that red star, and that if it ever vanished,
Right.
there would be a problem. Though so far, after thousands of collective hours spent watching, nothing has obviously
Still
happened
there.
to the star. Now, since then, between Legion and Midnight, we interacted with demons 4 times. There were 2 dreadlords with ancient beef sacrificing souls in Felwood. There's the Dark Moon Fair, there's Satyrs and Bloodmist, and of course the Mannery Eridar reuniting with the Draenei.
Right.
Now, this, of course, was the era.
I forgot about that. The Red Draenei, the Eridar. Yes, they are reunited. That's why players can now make them and create them as playable characters. They're back. Sam, do you think Sargeras has a huge dick? Thank you for asking that question. It's very important to the lore. The answer is yes. He's definitely cocked. I have no doubt. The way he unsheathed his sword before he stabbed Azeroth, he's experienced with unsheathing massive weapons. It's very obvious.
Of what sword, where it felt like we had 3 expansions just ignoring the consequences of Sargeras' stabbing of the sword into the world and, of course, his capture.
What sword, though?
But all
right?
that changed with Midnight. There were 4 Legion stories in the near decade between Antorus and the War Within, and right now, there have been 4 demon stories in Midnight alone.
Interesting.
And each one tells quite the story and points into the future. Now let's begin with the one that we all expect, and that is that some demons are out there and they just want to watch the world burn.
Not a surprise.
The true threat of a Legion return was actually set up in Midnight's prequel novel called Blood Ties.
Right.
It followed Arator, Illyrian Turalian on a cosmos-hopping demon hunt. Now,
If you haven't listened to the audiobook version of this book, I would tell you guys to do it for sure. It's well done, well read. I think the guy who reads it is the voice of Arator. I think it's the same person. And they do a lot of, there's voice acting kind of in it and sound effects. It's really good. I enjoyed this. So you should check it out. I think it's on the YouTube channel for Blizzard too, if you want to check that out. Yeah, basically they find and kill demons. That's what they're kind of doing. They're running around and killing off these random demons that are starting these mini uprisings.
hopping demon hunt. Now, it
Sorry,
began
Richie.
in Fell Soul Hold near Suramar, where rogue demons were sacrificing Nightborn to power something known as the Soul Engine. And as the plot unraveled, the true architect of all of these sacrificing schemes was revealed. And it turned out it was an Eridar named Sarathar. As we discover, these weren't rogue demons at all. They were actually part of a major power struggle within the remnants of the Burning Legion.
Yes, interesting.
Everything, every world, warband, battleship was up for grabs. You just had to be brutal enough to take it. Which wound up with Arator acting as an unwitting pawn in the game between a few different demons. And that's because Sarathar had actually put Arator on the trail of his rival, a Shvara named Varskar the Flayer. And under interrogation, she claimed that the Legion was not in fact dead. Far from it. That in reality, it had rallied on 100,000 worlds. And what's worse, Sarathar had came within striking distance of his own ambition, which was to use the Soul Engine to power a portal connection between Azeroth and all those Legion.
It's interesting. It's the fact that they were kind of reforming the Burning Legion. It's kind of because it looks like Sargeras showed the demons their true potential. Really, they were just chaotic. They never really teamed up. Demons just did their own freaking thing. Every guy was just out on his own, fucking around. And then Sargeras shows up, organizes them, and creates a force that's so strong that it can overwhelm almost any planet. The only time they really got stopped was when they came to our world, right? Which was the big shocker. First time they showed up, they'd shown up a few times previously, but the first time they really came and tried to overtake us was in Burning Crusade, right? When we were able to stop them. And that was like a bit, Sargeras and the Burning Legion, that's their first L, man. They took a big L there. And then they show up again in Legion, obviously like a rebuild. They came back stronger than ever, and we pushed them back again. We gave them their final L, right? Taking out their leader and everything. So these demons now, they went from being, a bunch of chaotic people to the most powerful army ever assembled, besides us, and then back to chaos again. And it seems like some of them didn't want to go back to chaos. They enjoyed that power that they had, kind of the ability to just be the most powerful force in the universe. So it seems like some of them nostalgically are looking to reassemble that. The Legion is endless and inevitable. Sargeras sealed their fate into failure by adding a failure's guidance. Interesting. Look, one thing that they're weaker on now, right, is, and one reason why the Burning Legion was so strong, you talk about their endless inevitability, was the fact that he anchored them, what was it, to Argus, right? He anchored them to the world soul of Argus, which meant they were able to reassemble even quicker. One thing about a demon, you kill it, it goes back to the twisting nether, reforms, and comes back. That's the natural state of demons. You can't really kill a demon unless you kill them in the twisting nether. But how quickly they form back was sped up like 10x fold, because Argus and how he set up the world soul as an anchor for their soul, the demon souls. So they were able to kind of reform much quicker, which made him an even more formidable, opponent to try to fight off and kill, because they were just so quick to return that the battlefront was always replenished. Once we killed off Argus, that kind of broke that cycle. Demons can still reform, but it just takes them way longer to come back, so the battle is probably over by the time they reform.
Worlds. So then, 100,000 worlds. It's a fairly immense threat. It shows a Maynard demonic faction is out there and is still loyal to its original mission. But let me show you the reality of all that. You see, many of those worlds are backwaters. They're insignificant outposts. They're the ruins of past conquests. They're not big hitters like, say, the reclaimed Argus or the now destroyed world of Nathreza. They are the likes of Val, frozen outposts with a single holdout like Thalkul. But it's in these locations where we see the true pivot in Blizzard's storytelling with the Burning Legion. And the big discovery is the demon lore is absolutely back in the menu, and in a way, it's got a whole new flavor, and one that actually makes sense for demons. And that flavor is freedom.
Ooh.
We've just revisited Val, but now we're going to see Nagtal. This is a fungal world that was once victim to a Legion invasion that wiped out its sentient races. We return to this world in 1207. The map's a bit different, but it's the same location, and when there, we find the majestic ruins of a crashed Legion ship. And much like seeing a crashed Imperial Star Destroyer in Star Wars, I think the message Blizzard has here is rather obvious. The once mighty fleets of the Burning Legion are gone. Their greatest weapons are destroyed. They're crashed in swamps and wastelands scattered across the verse. On Val, we saw what happened to the captain of ships like these, abandoned and left for dead. Now, this is the second example from a location incredibly far from Val that is showing us how across the universe demons are throwing off their shackles. They're forging new power dynamics. Some were true demons from the twisting Nether who will just seek chaos at every turn.
Right.
But many of those we call demons were actually just other intelligent races. Just ones that were corrupted by Fel. Most notably, Sargeras did it with the Eridar,
yeah.
working through Kil'jaeden, of course, and just like the Orcs and the Eridar, these demons can actually be saved because they are not true pure demons. And the clearest example of that happens on a planet that we've only just heard rumors about. There are whispers of demons and Draenei living somewhat in harmony, which is something that we actually learned from a group of Draenei we found who called themselves the Nethersent.
The Nethersent. This stuff is wild.
Okay,
what are the Nethersent?
Peaceful demons, neutral demons. What the hell's going on with that? Well, it's some crazy lore, but it's actually pretty cool. So we meet this group called the Nethersent. They were a group of Draenei who left with Velen during the initial exodus from Argus. And after that exodus, it took hundreds upon hundreds of years of traveling around the cosmos to actually find Draenor. And in that time, they did make pit stops on many worlds. One of those was called Nashabor. But the problem is, throughout this entire situation, much like, say, the humans and Cylons of Battlestar Galactica, the Legion were hot on their heels. They found them, they would invade whatever world they were taking a pit stop on, and the story I'm about to tell is one of those times. Now, there are two interpretations of how it went down. One story paints the Draenei as cowards who just left the Nethersent behind. So basically, Prophet Velen and co. just made a hasty getaway and left some of their people behind. But characters like Lothraxion call the Nethersent heretics, claiming that they actually wanted to stop running and that they just wanted to stay on Nashabor and wanted to stay so much.
Of course, he calls them heretics because I guess they didn't want to just run forever. They thought maybe they could make peace with the demons. He probably saw that as like, oh, make peace with a demon. How dare you? You can't make peace with them.
So that they fought their Draenei kin and even injured a Naru, which is, of course, not really traditional Draenei behavior.
Right.
So, apparently, the Draenei then left them to die on that world. Pretty much, you've made your bed, sleep on it, we're leaving. But the thing is, they didn't die. They survived, and they survived for a crazy reason. We're told by the Nethersent that they live alongside demons peacefully.
What is going on here? This new demon model's, it's something, let me tell you.
On their world. That they play traditional Draenei sports together and have a well-integrated society. Now, it's easy to imagine these demons maybe told their Legion masters that the invasion was a success, and that because of that, the Legion can just ignore the planet. That they then maybe turned off whatever the demon equivalent of a transponder is and just disappeared into a peaceful life. That's not impossible to see. Now, once upon a time, it would have sounded absolutely mad. Demons and Draenei living peacefully on some distant world would be completely insane to the lore. But it seems here that it is true, and I think it shows us a direction Blizzard wants to take the demons, the Fel, Disorder, and all those decades of built-up lore. And most importantly, well, how they're going to handle the return of Sargeras. So,
basically, they're indicating that demons are capable of free will and making their own decisions. They're not just one mindless unit running around destroying everything. That there's variety to them, there's differences between them. And so these demons were kind of good guys, right? They just made peace.
Or demon stories here. There's Blood Ties showing us big Legion personalities that are out there, carving up what's left of the power base. There's Val and Negtel, which show us demons throwing off their chains and setting out to carve their own destiny. And then, on Nashabor, we find demons who have done just that. So what the hell does all of this mean? Where is it going? Well, demons have always had free will in the Warcraft verse. This whole thing is just a natural consequence of Sargeras being gone, right? Well, yes, kind of. But remember, I said it was an important storytelling tool, and that it's setting up an expansion to the lore that is more mind-bending than I think any amount of Draenei and demon living peacefully together could be.
No, Brenna, on the demon model, so why can we have sexy female models and not sexy male models, and suddenly it's gay? Well, if I want to have sex with the male demon model, what does that make me? I'm just saying.
And that's because it's all about the return of the original big bad man of Warcraft, Sargeras. Sargeras is key to the concept of free will with demons. You see, we've always kind of understood that demons have free will. They hate servitude by warlocks, but, they go through it anyway. And we even know that long before Sargeras enslaved them all, that the Doomguard were actually the Titans' magical police. They were forced to scour the universe for any abuse of the arcane and then, destroy the abuser. That was another job that they resented. Now, in the Burning
Right.
Crusade, many demons actually chose to join Illidan. That's because Illidan offered them an alternative to their fell addiction. Kick the addiction and you'll be free. And
see, one thing about Burning Crusade, I didn't understand the lore back then at all. I used to think that Illidan joined the Burning Legion or something. Because that was like, why are these demons fighting with, helping Illidan? They're on the same team. Okay, then he must be part of Sargeras's plan and all that. I had no idea what was going on here. Turns out these are like demons that defected from the Burning Legion to join Illidan in his cause of basically fighting against the Sargeras. So that's how that all works. So we already had in the past, if you think about it, we've already had demons with free will. These guys clearly did. They defected from an army that was created for this, the sake of just destroying worlds. So this has existed, just they never registered with me back then.
Be free. And we even found Zeloth in Zangarmarsh. He's a funny little character. You see, he noped out of being a Legion baddie so that he could just be worshipped as a god by the Sporelings. So it's not like Midnight's demon stories have just walked in here and completely revolutionized what we thought demons were capable of. They've always been cutting deals and that sort of thing. But we do need to ask, why are Blizzard doing it now? Why are demons being presented in all of these complicated ways now, when, for the most part,
for a
they
reason.
hadn't been for quite some time indeed? Put simply, Sargeras will return in The Last Titan. We know that the Titans are coming back, and we know that the Titans have Sargeras. We also know we're going to deal with Sargeras' sword in Silithus.
Are we? Are we? If you remember the promise from this entire World Soul saga that Chris Metzen made is, and they literally wore these shirts that said "What sword" on them, and here we are now. Yeah, what sword? Like, it's still a meme because we're like halfway through the World Soul saga. We still have not addressed the massive sword sitting in the planet. What are we doing? Why is nobody talking about this thing? It's just sitting there still. So I mean, I've talked about how they could tie it in. Maybe I've even talked about the return of artifact weapons maybe being a thing from Legion because hey, we're gonna need the best and strongest weapons we've ever had to fight against the Titans. I think that could happen. And where did we drain all of the power of our artifact weapons? Well, into this freaking sword. So maybe there's something that has to do with that. I don't know, but like I think it's pretty crazy. If you would have told me this would have been the case, I would have been like, no, there's no way. If you would have told me we'd be halfway through the second expansion in the World Soul Saga, just about halfway, and still have not addressed the sword in any meaningful way, that's pretty crazy.
But there's actually something else going on in here. It's a narrative that folds these demon stories into the A-plot of the War Within, Midnight, and what'll come next. And that is, of course, the Titan Conspiracy. Now, we recently went deep in this theory on a lore video. I'll link it at the end of this one in case you missed it. But before you watch that, I'm going to state Sargeras' role in this grand conspiracy rather plainly. In short, Sylvanas has actually told us now twice that the Shadowlands isn't what we thought it was.
It's fake.
That it's too ordered. And we've established that that means almost certainly that it was built by the Titans. And in that video, we go through the deepest lore of the past two expansions, and we piece together what all of this stuff means from Sylvanas. It basically comes down to the Titan Conspiracy dominating the World Soul, going really far back, even so far back that it's to a fundamental flaw that the Titans baked into reality. Basically, they made a big mistake. And that mistake was them subverting the natural function of what the Shadowlands was supposed to be, and how in doing so, they left the door open to the Void's eventual consumption of all reality.
Right.
That is what the jailer called the fundamental flaw in reality. That's what he meant when he said that a cosmos divided cannot stand against, the famous phrase, what is to come.
Yes, we just did a whole video on this. Yeah, this famous saying is coming back into the fold here, that he was talking about the Void, basically.
He called Azeroth a world soul teeming with enough potential to fix this big problem the Titans introduced. And basically, he's a character who saw the flaw before most did, And that's something that we've, I think, now backed up with a rather fierce level of certainty. It's very, very well grounded in the lore. And with that in mind, we need to think about Sargeras. Remember, Sargeras was once Team Titan Pantheon, right? He was basically their champion. His job was to go around fighting all the baddies that could
He was the
possibly
sword
get
of the
in way
Pantheon,
of the
basically.
Titan's designs. And he served in that role for an unknown but almost certainly mind-bogglingly huge period of time. So he played his role in building and enforcing this Titan conspiracy. He conquered worlds, he expanded order across the cosmos, he likely laid the foundations of their control in the Shadowlands. I mean, think about it, he was their champion. If anything in the afterlife said no to the Titans, Sargeras would be the guy to roll up and with his big sword deal with the problem.
Oh yeah, it's big sword.
Whatever the problem is, he's probably aware of it. But here's the thing, just like with the jailer, he realized something was really quite wrong. And this is where I can go back to Warcraft Chronicle. Okay, so
that's true. I mean, I never really thought about it, but Sargeras and the jailer probably would have gotten along. They would have had good conversations because they both seemingly saw this inevitable threat coming, and they knew it was going to be a problem. And they both realized that threat was the void. Now, I never noticed this before, but this model is the original, like, you know, non-fel corrupted version of Sargeras. This guy's got a cock on his fucking fabric here. It's a very obvious, this is a rune cock on his, what the hell's going on here? This is the most phallic rune I've ever seen. Literally right on the middle of his waist. Maybe a sign of things to come.
Sargeras expressed his growing fear that existence itself was already flawed. That's a key quote, and he even goes on to tell the Titan Pantheon about this flaw. And here's the big thing. The Titan Pantheon actually agreed with Sargeras. They agreed there was a huge problem, and they thought that Azeroth would be the solution to that problem. So then, this flaw...
Serious question, what has the Void to do with the Titans? It's just, they're opposites, basically. The Titans love complete order, everything to be, you know, in a perfect orderly row, and then you got the Void out there who's more chaotic. They just like to devour, never-ending hunger, insanity, you know, craziness, just no order, basically. They're almost like equal and opposites. And the Titans, you know, Sargeras' entire Burning Crusade was meant to fight against the Void. That was it. He decided that the only way to stop this chaos from spreading was to destroy everything it could possibly spread to. That was it. So, I mean, that's the relation. They don't have any, like, direct relation that we know of. It's just they're two forces pulling in opposite directions, so they don't like each other.
Has basically been known to us in at least some form since the Burning Crusade.
And they both have a extreme interest in world souls, evidently, and especially Azeroth. Each side wants to pull Azeroth to their side. So that's the fight that we deal with here.
The idea is that the universe is so broken that the Void will eventually win. It would, in time, do exactly what Xal'atath is now trying to do as we speak. And that is basically what tipped Sargeras over the edge into insanity. It's basically the knowledge that ended up spawning the Burning Legion. He just realized the whole situation was so foobar that the best thing he could do was just wipe the entire slate.
Destroy everything.
Now here's where it gets really big. Who told Sargeras about this flaw?
The
or
dreadlords.
To put it in more modern terms, who blackpilled Sargeras? Well, it's actually fairly simple. The lore says it's the Nathrezim.
Yep.
And you know what? That still totally fits.
Yep.
Because the Nathrezim were...
These fuckers, let me tell you, man, these guys are going to be relevant. These guys are going to be relevant at some point. There's going to be some great Nathrezim dreadlord lore that I can't wait for, because you know how I feel about them dreadlords. Also, Pepe's a dreadlord. Just don't forget that, guys.
Were working downstream from the jailer. So, at the end of the
also,
day, they were all looking at the same...
Also means more Daddy Denathrius lore, too. Right. He's a big boy dreadlord. So at some point, he's going to be relevant again, too.
Broken picture and figuring out ways to fix it. Now, you may hear all of...
If you think about it, the dreadlords have played such major roles in just revealing or kind of angling people towards certain lore moments. I mean, they basically blackpilled Sargeras, told him about the Void and everything that was coming. They did the same thing with Arthas. If you remember, the entire reason why Arthas goes to Northrend is because he's chasing them to the ends of the earth. You remember that? Basically, he told him, join me in Northrend. knowing that he would eventually get the sword and the ice crown and everything else would happen the way it did. So these dreadlords, they've always been playing. I wouldn't even call it 5D chess. They've been playing 6D chess all along.
This and think, oh god, this is insane. Are they just making like Zoval
Mal'Ganis.
the most important dude in the Warcraft verse? No, there is a link, but absolutely not. Because there's another character who saw this flaw as well, and it's one you've met recently. It's Morozond, the Twilight version of Nosdormu, the leader of the Bronze Dragonflight. He says, I believe the quote is, Amenthul, what I have seen. And the implication is, whatever he saw that drove him mad is, really extremely bad.
It's crazy that he's bringing up Morozond right now, and I literally just brought him up the other day as somebody who could make an appearance at some point here. I really think he could. I don't know if it's Xalatet that's going to make him transform. We fought against his transformation the entirety of Dragonflight, but I still think the Infinite Dragonflight could become a thing. Morozond could become a thing going forward.
Everything
so much pre-watching. Oh, Mike, yeah, this is ridiculous. Just because I predict everything doesn't mean I pre-watch it, does it? Maybe.
We've been able to piece together, it is basically that flaw.
I like the look is best. It's amazing.
Now, of course, the solutions of many of these characters, be it Sargeras, Morozond, or the Jailer, well, they were absolutely pants-on-head bonkers, but you do get the picture. So, when Sargeras returns to face down that flaw in the last Titan, he'll know full well it was actually the Titans who messed everything up, that their endless want for order created a flaw so fundamental that Sargeras saw no solution but to burn the entire thing down, and to let the universe reset without the threat.
The Infinite Dragonflight is not bad anymore, though. They works out. Yes, this is true. I mean, the entire remix, all the lore behind remix events is the Infinite Dragonflight basically working with the Bronze Dragonflight to show us alternate kind of realities, right? That's what remix events are all about. So yeah, they're not. We've learned the Infinite Dragons are not necessarily bad. They're just different. The Titans label them as bad, though, because what they don't like about the Infinite Dragonflight is basically free will. The Infinites can see infinite possibilities. That's why they call themselves the Infinite Dragonflight. They see infinite possibilities into the future, whereas the Bronze Dragonflight only sees a single path in the future. And that single path is basically what the Titans want them to see. So that's the difference. It's almost like a mind awakening when you become an Infinite Dragon. So yeah, they're not bad. They almost have more free will than the Bronze do.
Of Void Lords looming over everything.
The Titans use the Bronze to make one path.
Basically bring back how it was before the Titans launched their doomed attempt at perfection. So we will meet a Sargeras with complicated motivations that needs a complicated legion to call on. So will he turn to Variskar's 100,000 worlds? Or maybe will he once again set near infinite demons against us? Or will the now free demons decide, actually, that they want to fight him? As of now, we can't be sure, but it certainly is a complicated army for a man who is about to have his most fundamental motivations vindicated. And that is that the Titans' reality truly does need to be torn down. And if that all sounds absolutely crazy, do not worry, because all you need to do is watch this video next, because it's the one where we lay down the entire conspiracy from start to finish. I think you'll love it, and with it in your mind, you'll almost certainly enjoy The Last Titan way more than you would otherwise.
Death Knight of our Scourge. Thank you. 4 months in a row. Damn, what a champ. Belilar, nice video from him overall. The Sargeras lore is certainly becoming more and more relevant. I don't think it's a mistake that Blizzard's playing out all this demon stuff right now in Midnight. It's because they're going to become relevant too. Overall, nice video.